are brilliant. It's recording. Excellent. Turn it on. Turn it on. I know how to do all that. It's kind of already set. Make sure this is off.
There are certain things when I sit in church.
Jedediah Schultz.
And the Reverend will tell you flat out he does not agree with homosexuality, and I don't know. I think right now I'm going through changes, and I'm still learning about myself, and I feel like I don't know enough about certain things to be able to make a decision that says homosexuality is right when you've been raised your whole life that it's wrong. And right now I'd say I don't agree with it, and yeah, I don't agree with it, and maybe that's just because I couldn't do it. And speaking in religious terms, I don't think that's how God intended it to happen, but I don't hate homosexuals, and I mean, I'm not going to persecute them or anything like that at all. I mean, it's not going to get in the way between me and the other person at all.
Well, it's preached in schools that being gay is okay. Yada, yada, yada. Conrad Miller. And if my kids came up to me and asked me, I'd set them down. I'd say, this is what gay people do, and this is what animals do, okay? This is what they do. This is why I think it's wrong.
There's more gay people around than you think.
Murdoch.
And the reason why I don't bother anybody is because most of those that are gay or lesbian, and they know damn well who to talk to. If you step out of line, you're asking for it. Now, some people are saying that Matthew made a pass at them, and you don't pick up regular people. Don't get me wrong, I ain't excusing the boy's actions, but it makes me feel a little bit better because it's like it's a little bit of Matthew's fault and a little bit of the guys who did it. You know, maybe it's 50-50.
Yes, as a lesbian, I was more concerned for my safety.
Zachy Salmon.
I think we all were, and I think somewhere inside we all know it could happen to us anytime, you know? I mean, I would be afraid to walk down the street and display any sort of physical affection for my partner. You don't do that here in Laramie.
Well, there's this whole idea. You leave me alone, I leave you alone.
Jonas Slonaker.
And it's even in some of the Western literature, you know, live and let live. That is such crap. I tell my friends that. Even my gay friends bring it up sometimes. I'm like, that is crap, you know. Basically, what it boils down to, if I don't tell you I am a fag, you won't beat the crap out of me? I mean, what is so great about that? That's a great philosophy?
Matthew Shepard, medical update, 9 a.m., October 11th.
As of 9 a.m. today, Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition. The family continues to emphasize that the media respect their privacy. The family also wants to thank the American public for their kind thoughts and concern for Matthew.
We went to the candle vigil.
Zubaida Ula.
And it was so good to be with people who were feeling like shit. Like I felt like I didn't deserve to feel this bad. And then someone went up there and said, come on guys, let's show the world that Laramie is not this kind of town. But it is this kind of town. If it wasn't this kind of town, why did this happen here? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a lie. Because it happened here. So how can it not be a kind of town where this kind of thing happens? Like, you know what I mean? That's like looking at an Escher painting and getting all confused. That's like complete circular logic. Like how can you even say that? And we have to mourn this and be sad that we live in a town, a state, a country where shit like this happens. And I'm not going to step away from this and be like, oh, we have to show the world that Laramie is not this kind of town. I mean, there are people that are trying to distance themselves from this crime. And we have to own this crime, I feel. Everyone has to own this crime. We are like this. We are like this. We are like this.
I was at the fireside bar one afternoon and I ran into two friends of Aaron McKinney, Shannon and Jen. You guys knew Aaron well, right?
Yeah, we both did. I tell you, I felt awful when I first found out. I don't know whether Aaron was fucked up or whether he's coming down or what, but Matthew had money. Shit, I don't. He had better clothes than I did. He was a little rich bitch.
Shouldn't call him a rich bitch, though. It's not right.
Do you think there was any homophobia at all involved in this that contributed to some of it?
Probably would piss him off that Matthew's gay, because he didn't like the gay. The gay people I've seen him interact with, it was fine, you know, as long as they didn't hit on him, as long as it didn't come up.
As long as they weren't doing it in front of him.
Did you get the impression that he knew all the gay people?
I'm sure he knew other gay people. I mean, he worked up at KFC and they got a couple people up there that... Yeah, I mean, it's not bad or anything, because I don't know half the people that are gay in Laramie.
What would you guys say to Aaron if you saw him right now?
Well, first of all, I'd ask him if he's doing any more drinking.
If I saw him now, I'd probably be like, man, why you fuck up like that? But I want to make sure he's doing good in there. But I'm sure he is, though, so I'd probably just like hang out with him.
Oh, smoke a bowl.
I bet he wants one so bad.
You guys went to Laramie High, right?
Yeah, can't you tell we're both a product of our society?
On a day that is traditionally given over to nothing more profound than collegiate exuberance and the fortunes of the University of Wyoming football team, this community on the High Plains had a different kind of homecoming Saturday, as many searched their souls in the wake of this vicious, apparent anti-gay hate crime.
This was homecoming weekend, and there were a lot of people in town, and there was a homecoming parade that was scheduled, and the students had organized to tag onto the back of it, you know, behind the banner supporting Matt. And everybody would be wearing the armbands that the students had created.
I live in the center of town, and my apartment has windows on two opposite streets. One goes north and one goes south, and that's exactly the homecoming parade route. Now, on the day of the parade, I had a cast on my leg because of the fall, and I was very disappointed because I really wanted to walk with the people that were marching for Matthew, but I couldn't. So I watched from my window, and it was just, look, I'm 52 years old and I'm gay. I lived here for many years and I've seen a lot, and I was very moved when I saw the tag on the end of the homecoming parade. I mean, there were about 100 people marching behind a banner for Matthew Shepard. So the parade went down to the end of the block to make a U-turn, and I went to the other side of my apartment to wait for it to come south down the other street.
I was right up in the front where they were holding the banner for Matthew, and let me tell you, I've never had goosebumps so long in my life. It was incredible. A mass of people, families, mothers, holding their 6-year-old kids, having these armbands around these kids, and trying to explain to them why they should wear an armband. Just amazing. I mean, one of the most beautiful things I've done in my life.
Well, about 10 minutes went by, and sure enough, the parade came down the street, and then I noticed the most incredible thing. As the parade came down the street, the number of people marching for Matthew had grown 5 times. There were at least 500 people walking for Matthew Shepard. 500 people, can you imagine? The tag at the end was larger than the entire parade, and people kept joining in. You know what? I started to cry. Tears were streaming down my face, and I thought, thank God I got to see this in my lifetime. And my second thought was, thank you, Matthew.
Well, I really haven't been all that involved per se. My husband's a highway patrolman, and that's really the only way I've known about it. Now, when I first found out, I thought it was horrible. I mean, I can't. Nobody deserves that. I don't care who you are. But at the same time that happened, that was not brought out, is that patrolman was killed, and there was nothing. Nobody talked about the old man that killed him. He was driving down the road, and he shouldn't have been, and he killed him. Just a little piece of paper. You know, my husband worked with him. He was brand new to the force, and one of ours, just a little piece of paper? Part of my feeling is that the media is portraying Matthew Shepard as a saint, making him out as a martyr, and I don't think he was. I don't think he was that pure. I didn't know him, but there are just so many things I found out about his character. It's scary, you know? About spreading AIDS and a couple other things. I mean, just the type of person he was a barfly, you know? And I think he pushed himself around. I think he flaunted it. Everyone's got problems, but why they exemplify him, I don't know. What's the difference? A hate crime is a hate crime. If you murder somebody, you hate him. It doesn't matter if you're gay or a prostitute or whatever. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Company member Lee Fondakowski. This is one of our last days on our second trip to Laramie. Greg and I have been interviewing nonstop and we are exhausted.
We're to meet with Father Roger at 7:30 in the morning. I was wishing we could skip it all together, but we have to see this through to the end. So here we go. 7:30 a.m., 2 queers and a Catholic priest.
Matthew Shepard has served us well. You realize that. He has served us well. And I don't mean to condemn Matthew to perfection, but I cannot mention anyone who has done more for this community than Matthew. Now, I'm not going to sit back and say I'm this bold guy, no fear. I was scared. I was very vocal in the community when this happened. And I thought, you know, should we call the bishop and get his permission to do the vigil? And I was like, hell no. His permission does not make that correct. You realize that. And now I'm not knocking bishops, but what is correct is correct. And you people are just out here on a search, though. And I will speak with you. And I will trust that if you write a play of this, that you say it right, and that you say it correct. I think you have a responsibility to do that. Just don't make matters worse. You think violence is what they did to Matthew? They did do violence to Matthew. But you realize that every time you're called a fag, or you're called a les, or you're called a whatever.
Gosh, a dyke?
A dyke, yes, a dyke. You realize that is violence. That is the seed of violence. And I'd resent it immensely if you used anything I said to somehow cultivate that type of violence. Even in the smallest form, I'd resent it immensely. You need to know that.
Thank you, Father, for saying that.
Just deal with what is true. And you know what is true. You need to do your best to say it correct.
Hello?
Reverend?
Yes, hello.
I believe your wife told you a bit about why I'm contacting
Yes, she did, and let me tell you, I don't know that I really want to talk to anyone about any of this incident. I'm somewhat involved, and I just don't think...
Yes, I completely understand, and I don't blame you. You know, I was at your services on Sunday.
You went to the services on Sunday?
Yes, I did.
On Sunday?
Yes, this past Sunday.
Did I meet you?
You welcomed me at the beginning, I believe.
I see. Well, let me tell you. I am not afraid to be controversial or to speak my mind. That's not necessarily the views of my congregation, per se. Now, as I said, I'm somewhat involved. That the people in the case, well, the girlfriend of the accused is a member of our congregation, and one of the accused has visited. Now, those two people, the accused, have forfeited their lives. We've been after the two I mentioned for ages, trying to get them to live right, to do right. Now, one boy is on suicide watch, and I'm working with him. Until they put him in the chair and turn on the juice, I will work for his salvation. Now, I think they deserve the death penalty. I will try to deal with them spiritually.
Right, I understand.
Now, as for the victim, I know that that lifestyle is legal, but I will tell you one thing. I hope that Matthew Shepard, as he was tied to that fence, that he had time to reflect on a moment when someone had spoken the word of the Lord to him, and that before he slipped into a coma, he had a chance to reflect on his lifestyle.
Thank you, Reverend, for speaking with me.
About 11:30 that night, I had just barely gone to bed, and Margot, our chief operating officer, called and said his blood pressure is starting to drop. Let's wait and see. She called about 10 after. He just died. So I quick got dressed and came in and went to the ICU where the family was. And Judy came up and put her arms around me, and I put my arms around her, and we just stood there, honestly, for about 10 minutes, just because what else do you do? And then we had to sit and talk about things that you just Dennis. It's now public knowledge. And I'm going to go out there and tell the whole world that this has happened. Because at that point it was clear to us it was the world. It was the whole world. And so Judy told me what she wanted me to say, and I went out there at 4 o'clock a.m. At 12 midnight on Monday, October 12th, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. We immediately notified the family, who were already at the hospital. At 12:53 a.m., Matthew Shepard died. His family was at his bedside. His family released the following statement. The family again asked me to express their sincerest gratitude to the entire world for the overwhelming response for their son. The family was grateful they did not have to make a decision regarding whether or not to continue life support for their son. Like a good son, he was caring to the end and removed guilt or stress from the family. He came into the world premature, and he left the world premature. Matthew's mother said, "Go home, hug your kids, and don't let a day go by without telling them that you love them." And I don't know how I let that happen. I completely lost it on national television, but we'd been up for like 72 hours straight and gone home and gone to bed for a half hour and then had to get up and come back in. And maybe I was just weighing, I don't know, but in a moment of complete brain deadness, while I was up there reading that statement, I was thinking of my own 4 daughters. And go home, hug your kids. And she doesn't have her kid anymore. And I'm sitting up here and I'm thinking, this is so lame. And then we started to get people sending us letters and emails, and most of them were generally very kind, but I did get this one. This guy wrote me and he said, "Do you cry like a baby on TV for all your patients or just the faggots?" And as I told you before, homosexuality is not a lifestyle with which I agree, but having been thrown into this, I guess I didn't understand the magnitude with which some people hate. And of all the letters we got, there were maybe 2 or 3 that were like that. Most of them were just, "Thank you for your caring and your compassion." And Matthew had caring and compassion from the moment he got here.
I spoke with Doc today, and I told him we would soon be coming back out for the upcoming trials of Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. And this is what he had to say.
I'll tell you what, if they put those 2 boys to death, that'll defeat everything Matt had ever thought about on them. Because he would not want those 2 to die. He'd want to leave them with hope. H-O-P-E. Just like the whole world. Hope that Matt would survive. You see, this whole thing ropes around hope. H-O-P-E.
The day of the funeral, it was snowing so bad. Big, huge, wet snowflakes. And when I got there were thousands of people in just black, umbrellas everywhere. And there were these 2 churches, one for the immediate family, invited guests, people of that nature, and one for everyone else who wanted to be there. And then still, hundreds of people outside that couldn't fit into either of these churches. And there's this big park by the church, and that's where these people were. And let me tell you, this park was full.
Our liturgy today is an Easter liturgy. It finds its meaning in the resurrection. This service invites your full participation. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray.
And I guess it was like the worst storm that they've had.
Tiffany Edwards.
Like that anybody could ever tell. Trees fell down, power went out for a couple of days because of it. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, whatever higher power, whatever higher forces that likes blowing storms is really blowing this storm.
For our brother Matthew, let us pray to our Lord Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the resurrection and the life." We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord.
Lord, you...
My most striking memory from the funeral,
Carrie Drake, Casper Star Tribune.
was seeing the Reverend Fred Phelps from Kansas. That scene go up at the park.
Do you believe in the Bible? Do you believe you should separate the precious from the vile? You don't believe in that part of the Bible? You stand there ignorant of the fact that the Bible, for every 2 verses, it talks about God's love, it talks about God's hate.
A bunch of high school kids who got out early came over and started yelling at us and protesting. The Fred Phelps people. And across the street you can see the people lining up for the funeral. Well, I remember this guy, this skinhead. He was dressed in all leather and had spikes everywhere. He came over across the street and into the crowd, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a really ugly confrontation. But instead, he came over and started leading them an amazing grace.
We wouldn't be here if this was just another murder the state was going to deal with. The state deals with hundreds of murders every single day. But this murder is different. Because the fags are bringing us out here by making Matthew Shepard into a poster boy for the gay lifestyle. And we're here to answer it. It's that simple.
6 months later, the company returned to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, the first of the 2 perpetrators. It was to be a capital murder trial. When we arrived to the Alameda County Courthouse, Fred Phelps was already there.
You don't like that attribute of God?
But so was Romaine Patterson.
That perfect attribute of God. We love that attribute of God, and we're gonna preach it. Because God hate is here. It's a determination. It's got a determination that He's gonna send some people to hell. That's God's hatred.
After seeing Fred Phelps, practicing at Matthew's funeral, and finding out that he was from the Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, I decided that someone needed to stand toe-to-toe with this guy and show the differences. And I think I kind of did when people are talking about hatred, as much as the nation is right now, that someone needs to show that there's a better way of dealing with that kind of hatred. So our idea is to dress up like angels. And so we have designed an angel outfit. For our wings are huge. They're like big ass wings. And there will be 10 to 20 of us that are angels. And what we're going to do is we're going to encycle Phelps. And because of our big wings, we're going to completely block him. So this big ass band of angels comes in. We don't say a freaking word. We just turn our back to him when we stand there. We are a group of people bringing forth a message of peace and love and compassion. And we're calling it angel action. Yeah, this 21-year-old lesbian is ready to walk the line with him.
When those old preachers laid their hands on me, it's called ordination. Mine was from Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression.
And I knew that my angels were going to be taking the brunt of everything he had to yell and say. I mean, we were going to be blocking his views, and he's going to be like, peace off to all hell. So I went out and bought all my angels' earplugs.
Romaine Patterson's sister, Trish Steger.
As soon as they started jury selection, you know, everybody was coming into my shop with, I hope they don't call me, I don't want to be on this trial, or, oh my God, I've been called, how do I get off? Just trying to get as far away from it as they could. Very fearful they were going to have to be part of that jury. And then I heard Henderson had to sit in the courtroom while they questioned the prospective jurors, and one of the questions they ask is, would you be willing to put this person to death? And from what I understand, a lot of the comments were, yes, I would.
Yes, I would, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Yep.
Well, can you imagine hearing that, you know? Juror after juror after juror.
You entered a not guilty plea earlier, Mr. Henderson, but I understand you wish to change your plea today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You understand, Mr. Henderson, the recommended sentence here is 2 life sentences?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that those may run consecutively or they may run concurrently?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Henderson, I will now ask how you wish to plead. Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Before the court decides whether the sentences will be concurrent or consecutive, I understand that there are statements to be made by at least one individual.
This is an excerpt from a statement made to the court by Lucy Thompson.
As the grandmother of the person who raised Russell along with my family, we've written the following statement. Our hearts ache for the pain and suffering that the Shepherds have went through, and we have prayed for your family since the very beginning. Many times throughout the day, I have thought about Matt, and will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers, as we know that your pain will never go away. You showed us such mercy in allowing us to have this plea, and we are so thankful that you were giving us all the opportunity to live. Your Honor, we as a family plea that as you sentence Russell, that you will do it concurrently for 2 life terms. For the Russell we know and love, Your Honor, we humbly plead to not take Russell completely out of our lives forever.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, you have a constitutional right to make a statement if you wish to do so. Do you have anything you would like to say?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Shepard, there's not a moment that goes by that I do not see what happened that night. I know what I did was very wrong. I regret greatly what I did. You have my greatest sympathy for what happened. And I hope that one day you will be able to find it in your hearts to forgive me. Your Honor, I know what I did was very wrong. I'm sorry for what I did. And now I'm ready to pay my debt for what I did.
Mr. Henderson, you drove the vehicle that took Matthew Shepard to his death. You bound him to that fence in order that he might be more savagely beaten and in order that he might not live to tell his tale. You left him there for 18 hours, knowing full well that he was out there, perhaps having an opportunity to save his life, and you did nothing. Mr. Henderson, this court does not believe that you really feel any true remorse for your part in this matter, and I wonder whether you fully realize the gravity of what you've done. The court finds it appropriate, therefore, that sentence be ordered as follows. As to count 3, that being felony murder with robbery, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. On count 1, kidnapping, that you serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. Sentencing for count 1 to run consecutive to sentencing for count 3.
After the hearing, we spoke with Russell Henderson's Mormon homekeeper.
I've known Russell's family for 38 years, and Russell is only 21, so I've known him his entire life. I ordained Russell a priest of the Mormon church, so when this happened, you can imagine disbelief. After the sentencing, the church held a disciplinary council meeting, and the result of the meeting was to excommunicate Russell. And what that means is that your name is taken off the record of the church. So you just disappear. Russell's reaction to that was not positive. It hurt him. And it hurt him too to realize at that point how serious of a transgression he had committed. But I will not desert Russell. That's the matter of my religion and my friendship with the family.
Before we left Laramie, we met again with Rebecca Hilliker at the theater department. She's producing Angels in America this year at the university.
I think that's the stance the university has taken, that we have a lot of work to do, that we have an obligation to find ways to reach our students. So the question becomes, how do you move an entire state where there is still some really deep-seated hostility towards gays? I think this is the first step. And guess who's auditioning for the lead?
My parents!
Jedediah Schultz.
My parents were like, so what plays are you doing in school this year? And I was like, Angels in America. And I told them the whole list of plays. And they're like, Angels in America? Is that one play you did, that one scene you did in high school? And I was like, yep. And then she goes, huh, so you got an audition for it? And I was like, yep. And then we got into this huge argument. And the best thing that I knew I had on them, it was just after they had seen me in a performance of Macbeth. And on stage, like, I murdered like a little kid and Lady Macduff and these 2 other guys. And she just goes, well, you know, homosexuality is a sin. And she kept saying that. Mom, I just played a murderer tonight. You did not seem to have a problem with that. I tell you, I have never prepared this much for an audition in my life. Never. Not even close.
Not having to deal that much with the gay society here in Laramie.
Detective Sergeant Rob Debris.
Well, once we started working into the case and actually speaking to the people that were gay and finding out what the underlying fears were, well, that's when it sort of hit home. You see, this is America, and you don't have the right to feel that sort of fear. And we're still going to have people who hold on to the old ideals, and I was probably one of them 14 months ago, but I'm not going to put up with it, and I'm not going to listen to it. And if you don't like my views on it, that's fine. The door goes both ways. I've already lost a couple of buddies, and I don't care. I feel more comfortable and I can sleep at night.
Well, you're tested every 3 months.
Reggie Flutie.
And I was able to get the DNA test done. So they got me to Fort Collins, drew the blood there, flew it to Michigan, did all the DNA work there, in which was a week later. I knew I was negative for good.
I tell you, we were all in unison. Hail Mary.
You were just elated, you know, and you think, thank God.
What's the first thing she does?
I stuck my tongue right in my husband's mouth. I was just happy, you know? You're just so happy. And you think, yeah, I hope I did this service well. I hope I did it with some kind of integrity. So you're just really happy. And my daughters, they just bawled.
They were so happy.
And the force.
Oh boy.
We went out and got shit-faced. They all bought me drinks too. It was great. Everybody hugged and cried. I kissed everybody who walked through that door.
Where'd you get to know
I
that?
didn't care if they were male or female. They all got a kiss on the
What
lips.
part of what I just said did you not understand?
Oh, get over it, Mom.
Almost a year to the day that Matthew Shepard died, the trial of Aaron James McKinney was set to begin.
Probably the question that you all are thinking is how the McKinney case will proceed.
Cal Barucha, prosecuting attorney.
And it's the decision of the county attorney's office that this will be a death penalty case.
Part of me wants McKinney to get it. I'm not so proud of that. I was on and off and on it, you know. I don't know what I'd do. I'm just too personally involved.
Oh, I believe in death penalty 100%. Because I want to make sure that guy's ass dies, you know? This is one instant where I truly believe with all my heart an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
I don't know about the death penalty, but I never want to see them leave Rollins Penitentiary. I'll give my nickel, my little percentage of tax, my nickel a day or whatever to make sure their ass never gets to see society again.
I don't believe in the death penalty. It's too much for me. I don't think that one person should be killed as redemption for having killed another. Two wrongs don't make a right.
How can I protest if the Shepherds want McKinney dead? I just can't interfere with that. But on a personal level, I knew Aaron in grade school. We never called him Aaron. He was just known as AJ. How can we put AJ McKinney to death?
I think right now, our most important teachers are Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. They have to be our teachers. How did you learn? What did we do as a society to teach you that? See? I don't think many people will let them be their teachers. I think it would be wonderful, the judge said. In addition to your sentence, you must tell your story. You must tell your story.
All rise. State of Wyoming versus Aaron James McKinney, docket number 6381. The Honorable Barton R. Boyd presiding. The court is in session.
During the trial of Aaron McKinney, the prosecution played a taped recording of his confession.
My name is Rob Debris, Sergeant for the Sheriff's Office. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used against you in a court of law.
The following is an excerpt of that confession.
So, you guys, you and Russ, you go to the fireside.
Yeah.
So you're at the fireside by yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Okay, where do you go when you leave the fireside?
Some kids want to ride home.
Well, what's he look like?
Like a queer, such a queer dude.
He looks like a queer?
Yeah, like a faggot, you know?
Okay, how'd you meet him?
He wanted to ride home, so I just thought, well, dude's drunk, let's just take him home.
When did you and Russ talk about jacking him up?
We kind of talked about it in the bar.
Okay, what happened next?
We drove him out past Walmart, got over there, he started grabbing my legs, grabbing my genitals, and I was like, look, I'm not a fucking fag. If you touch me again, you could get it. I know what he was thinking, but I think I beat him up pretty bad. I think I killed him.
What'd you beat him with?
Blacked out, my fist, my pistol, the butt of the gun. I wonder what happened to me. I know. I had a few beers, but it was like, I can see what was happening. I know, but it was like...
What was the first thing that Matthew Shepard said that he did that made you...
He put his hand on my legs and slid his hand as he grabbed my balls.
When that defense team argued that McKinney did what he did because Matthew made a pass on him, I just wanted to vomit because that's like saying that it's okay. It's like the Twinkie defense when the guy killed Harvey Milk and Miss Coney. It's the same thing.
As much as a part of me didn't want the defense calling it a gay bashing or a gay panic, a part of me is really grateful because I was scared that in the trial they were going to say that it was just a robbery or it was a part of drugs, but when the defense said that it was a gay panic, I felt this is good. If nothing else, the truth is going to be told. The truth is coming out.
Did he ever try to defend himself against you or hit you back?
Yeah, he tried his little swings or whatever, but he wasn't very effective.
How many times did you hit Matthew inside the truck before you guys stopped or you left him?
I'd say 2 or 3 times, probably 3 times with my fist, about 6 times with my pistol.
Did he ask you to stop?
Yeah, he's getting the shit kicked out.
What did he say?
After he asked me to stop, most all he was doing was just screaming.
Okay, so Russ dragged him to the fence, I'm assuming, and tied him up?
Yeah, something like that. I just remember Russ was laughing at first, but he got pretty scared.
Was Matthew conscious when Russ tied him up?
Yeah, I told him not to turn around and not look at my license plate number because I was scared that he's going to tell the police. I asked him what my license plate number said. He read it. That's why I hit him a few more times.
Just to be sure? So you obviously don't like gay people.
No, I don't.
Would you say you hate them?
I really don't hate them. Just that when they start coming on to me and stuff like that.
Did he threaten you?
No, not really.
Can you answer me one thing? Why'd you guys take his shoes?
I don't know. I'll never get to see my son again.
I don't know, you'll probably go to court sometime today.
Today? I'm just gonna go in and plead guilty or not guilty today?
No, you're just gonna be arraigned today.
So, is he gonna die for sure?
There is no doubt that Mr. Shepard is going to die.
What are they gonna give me, 25 to life or just death penalty and get it over with?
That's not our job. That's the judge's job and the jury.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn to try the above entitled case after having well and truly tried the matter, unanimously find as follows. As to the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty.
Aaron McKinney was found guilty of felony murder, which meant the jury could give him the death penalty. That evening, Judy and Dennis Shepard were approached by McKinney's defense team, who pledged for their client's life. The prosecution indicated that they would defer to the family's wishes as to whether or not to pursue the death penalty. The following morning, Dennis Shepard made a statement to the court. Here is some of what he said.
My son Matthew did not look like a winner. He was rather uncoordinated and wore braces from the age of 13 until the day he died. However, in his all too brief life, he proved he was a winner. On October 6, 1998, my son tried to show the world he could win again. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero lost. On October 12, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero died 50 days before his 22nd birthday. I keep wondering the same thing I did when I first saw him in the hospital. What would he have become? How could he have changed his piece of the world to make it better? Matt officially died in a hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. He actually died on the outskirts of Laramie, tied to a fence. You, Mr. McKinney, with your friend, Mr. Henderson, left him out there by himself. But he wasn't alone. There were his lifelong friends with him, friends he had grown up with. You're probably wondering who these friends were. First, he had the beautiful night sky and the same stars and moon we used to see through a telescope. Then he had the daylight and the sun to shine on him. And through it all, he was breathing in the scent of pine trees from the snowy range. He heard the wind, the ever-present Wyoming wind for the last time. He had one more friend with him. He had God, and I feel better knowing he wasn't alone. Matt's beating, hospitalization, and funeral focused worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of evil. People have said enough is enough. I miss my son, but I am proud to be able to say he is my son. Judy has been quoted as being against the death penalty. It has been stated that Matt was against the death penalty. Both of these statements are wrong. Matt believed there were crimes and incidents which justified the death penalty. I, too, believe in the death penalty. I would like nothing better than to see you die, Mr. McKinney. However, this is the time to begin the healing process, to show mercy to someone who refused to show any mercy. Mr. McKinney, I am going to grant you life, as hard as it is for me to do so because of Matthew. Every time you celebrate Christmas, a birthday, the 4th of July, remember that Matt isn't. Every time you wake up in your prison cell, remember you had the opportunity and the ability to stop your actions that night. You robbed me of something very precious, and I will never forgive you for that. Mr. McKinney, I give you life in the memory of one who no longer lives. May you have a long life, and may you thank Matthew every day for it.
Me and Debris hugged and cried, and, you know, everybody had tears in their eyes. And you're just so thankful, you know? Mr. Shepherd was crying, and that got me going, and everybody just...
This is all we lived and breathed for a year. Daily, this has been my case daily, now it's finally over.
Maybe now we can go on and quit doing stuff, you know?
You know, it just hit me. Like, the minute I got out of the courthouse, the reason why God wanted me to find him was that so we didn't have to die alone. And if I hadn't have come along, they wouldn't have found him for a couple of weeks at least. So it makes me feel really good that he didn't have to die out there alone.
I'm just glad that's over. I really am. Testifying in that trial was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And don't get me wrong, I love the stage. I really do. I love it. It's hard when you have lawyers questioning you from this angle, and the answers need to be funneling this way to the jury. So what we have to do is establish a funneling system. And it's difficult because I'm a natural conversationalist. It's just natural instinct that when someone talks to you, you look at that person, make eye contact. But again, it's hard when you literally have to scoot over, change your position, and in fact, funnel over to where the jury is. But I guess I managed to do that several times over the course of my testimony.
On our last trip, I had the good fortune of seeing Jedediah Schultz play the role of Pryor in Angels in America. After the performance, we spoke.
I didn't for the longest time let myself become personally involved in the Matthew Shepherd thing. It just didn't seem real. It seemed way blown out of proportion. Matthew Shepherd was just a name instead of an individual, you know? I just feel weird, just feel bad, you know, just for all that stuff I said, and for the person I used to be. Someone hear those interviews from last year when I said that stuff, you know? I just can't believe I ever said that stuff about homosexuals. How'd I ever let that stuff make me think you were any different from me?
This is from Patterson.
Well, a year ago, I wanted to be a rock star.
That was my goal. And now, well, now, it's obviously changed in the fact that throughout the last year, I have really realized myself and taken my part. So now, instead of going to school to be music, I'm gonna go to school for communication and political science because I have a career in political activism. Actually, I just really found out I was gonna be honored in Washington, D.C. from the Anti-Defamation League. And whenever I think of the Angels, or any of the speaking that I've done, you know, Matthew's like guiding this little path with his light for me to walk down. It just, every time we get to like a door, he opens it, and he say, next step. If I get to be a rock star on the side, okay.
This is Jonas Slonaker.
Change is not an easy thing. And I don't think people were up to it here. They got what they wanted. Those two boys got what they deserved. And we look good now. Justice has been served. The OK corral. We shot down the villains. We sent a prostitute on a train. The town's all cleaned up. And we don't have to talk about it anymore. You know, it's been a year since Matthew Shepard died. And they haven't passed shit in Wyoming. At a state level, any town, nobody anywhere has passed any kind of laws, anti-discrimination laws or hate crime legislation. Nobody has passed anything anywhere. What's come out of it? What's come out of this that is concrete or lasting?
We all said we would meet again, one last time at the fence.
I've been up to that set in my limousine, okay? And I remembered to myself the night he and I drove around, he said to me, Laramie sparkles, doesn't it? And if you sit where he was, up there, if you sit exactly where he was, up there, Laramie really sparkles from there with the low-lying clouds. It's the blue lights bouncing off the clouds from the airport, and it goes tss, 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 right over the whole city. I mean, it just blows you away. Matt was sitting right there, and I can just picture in his eyes. I can just picture what he was seeing. The last thing he saw on this earth was the blue, sparkling lights.
On our last trip, we had the good fortune
It was very good fortunate, and we were glad that when Marge called, I asked her how Laramie would feel about seeing a play about itself. She said,
You know, I think we'd enjoy it. To show it's not the hellhole of earth would be nice, but I mean, that's up to how you portray us. I guess in turn, that's up to how Laramie behaves.
And as we were getting off the phone, she said to me,
Now you take care. I love you, honey.
Doc asked me if I wanted to ghostwrite a book about this whole event. And Galloway offered me or anyone else a place to stay if and when we returned to Laramie. He also seemed interested as to whether there'd be any open audition for this play.
We left Laramie at about 7 in the evening, and on the way to Denver, I looked in my rear view to take one last look at town.
I will speak with you, and I will trust that if you write a play of this, that you say it right. You need to do your best to say it correct.
And in the distance, I could see the sparkling lights of Laramie, Wyoming.